these because each of you will go into Cvent, you'll be able to create your own event. You'll be able to really understand granularly what is built in the template. Part of that exercise is going to also be you understanding what's in the template to help us add things that you need in future, which is another reason we want you in the product. But I did want to call that out before we start. I know everyone has their laptops, but I wanted to make that clear. All right, in terms of what we're going to be doing across our sessions for today specifically, I know everyone is jumping in and out based on your departments, but we're going to have 4 sections today, really, in terms of Cvent product. First, I want to take you through how to use Cvent, how to log into Cvent, where you find your resources from, which I think is one of the most important things for you to get out of the training. Then we'll talk about how to create an event and flesh out event details. We'll go for lunch. We'll come back and look at the website designer, which is where we do your website pages and your registration process. And then we'll wrap up today by looking at communication, so your emails, things like your web links, your feedback surveys, etc. And then tomorrow we have another agenda. We want to be artists with what we're doing tomorrow. The last thing that I want to call out in terms of Cvent, it is a very robust tool. And I know we all use robust systems, so I'm not being facetious, but Cvent is a very robust tool. There are a lot of features when you build your events, and you'll see when we have our template that you likely aren't going to use, and a lot of features that you are going to use. I like to tell people, ignore in Cvent the things that you're not using or that you don't want to use, because you're going to see a lot when you go in. So I don't want anyone to be overwhelmed when we look at this template that we're going to go into. There's going to be a lot in there. We're going to focus today on the things that you need to know and the things that you need to understand, the logic behind of Cvent. But if you notice that we're skipping certain things, it is by design, because either it's not finished currently, or you just don't necessarily need to know, or we're focusing on the fundamentals. Final thing I promise is in Cvent, I like to say, to get you started, it takes quite a bit of time and practice just to kind of understand the product. So we're going to be covering a lot in the sessions today. So I think it's okay if you don't fully understand certain things, but there's some fundamentals that I'm going to check with you guys just to make sure those things register, because certain things you have to grasp or you will not be able to use them. Just a few things, but I just want to make that like, yeah, go ahead.
So after this training, will there be some kind of user guide that we can go and check back on? Or like get
Yeah.
something, get some PDF or something, or online things?
So Emma's shaking her head that you will have a guide. From Cvent's perspective, that's what the Cvent community is there for. So you'll have your guide, but in the Cvent community, you have step-by-step guides, you have that show you how to do certain things, and we have it in product as well. So that's actually the first objective, is to make sure you know how to find those things. But after the training, yes, you will get a guide outside of what's in. All right, here are our goals. Every block, I'm going to have different objectives for you this morning, this afternoon. So this morning, 3 objectives. I want you guys to be able to explain how to create an event after your time with me this morning. I want you to be able to recall the steps to set up an event detail in Cvent. So the types of people coming, the agenda that you're having at the event, the speakers, the fundamental details. And I also want you to understand the support resources available for you. So if you get stuck, you get lost, you don't know what to do, you need additional trainings, you know exactly where to go. Sounds good so far? All right. Let's go ahead and begin. I want to start with navigating and the community. Then we'll go at event creation, build the details, and then wrap up with formal questions if you have additional questions. Real quick show of hands, I'm expecting everyone to be new. Who has worked in Cvent before? You have, okay. Okay. Have you worked in it for a while? Would you say?
Yeah, a few years.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, I know you've been working with it for a while. And everyone else feels like they're brand new to Cvent. Yes? Great. Let's go ahead and begin. In the first section, I want to cover how to log in, make sure we know how to access Cvent. We'll go through some account navigation. We'll hop into the Cvent community, which is your best resource for any Cvent questions, that Cvent community. And then we'll have that first activity. Now, the first thing I just want to check is, everyone received the emails that Emma sent out? Was everyone able to click on the link and log in and change your password? And then were you able to get into Cvent for the first time? Amazing. Anyone wasn't able to get in or hasn't done that? Online, we all got in. It's a buffet. Okay. So I won't remind us how to get that email, but I'll remind us how to log in. So Cvent is just the website. It is app.cvent.com. I know it's in the email, but it's really good to bookmark it so that you don't have to go back to that email. So just app.cvent.com in your browser. Once you're there, in your navigation, I should say as well, I'll call it for, I know different people learn in different ways. We all have activity time. So if you're going to sit down, stare, take in information, and then do the actions in the activity time, that's absolutely fine. If you prefer to follow along as I'm doing it as well, that's absolutely fine as well. Dealer's choice. So I put in that website. To log in, we're going to add our username and account number. So your account number we're going to find that in the email that you would have received. I have it here. So it is, if you are trying to type in your account number, it is SMI West 3041. Again, I always bookmark it because I don't remember my account number and I have like 5 different accounts and I struggle. You'll pop your username in, the password that you would have used when you change your password that initial time, and then you log straight in. Right? That's the login process every time. I've logged into your account, right? So everything that you see here is what you guys have in your account, is what you have access to. So once I've logged into Cvent, I'm brought into the events homepage. Quick global navigation first, then we'll go into the Cvent community. So starting on the top left-hand corner, this C logo allows me to come back to this home page at any time. Navigation in Cvent tends to be on the left-hand side, so I have my search bar here. But what's cool in this search bar is if I click search, I also have recent items. And as we use this, you'll see these things flesh out more. But recent items allows you to come back to the last 10 things that you worked in. So if you've gone away, maybe on vacation, and you want to come right back into that event or the delegate that you were managing, recent items pulls you straight back into that person.
Can you pin any of the events?
You can't pin them in the recent items area, but you can create your own view to just show those events. I'll show you that in a second. So back to navigation here on the left, I'm going to call out the features that you guys have again, so you understand what is there, even if we don't necessarily use them today. So events is where our events are going to live. I click events, I then see all of the events that we currently have access to. As you continue to create events in the account, obviously this list is going to flesh out with more and more events. Back to that global navigation, Events Plus. This is your version of an event calendar. And this allows you to do things like host the dates of your future events, linking for people to be able to register. It even has access for you to create what we call a video channel. So you can take videos maybe from your Attendee Hub events and have them back on that Events Plus. If you wanted to see what one looks like, no permission. So some of you will have user roles that have restrictions. So if you do throughout this training come up against something where you see it says you can't use it or you don't have access, do let us know. It's likely your user role and it's actually for a purpose, but we'll double check just in case.
I would think so.
Perfect.
Not intentional.
Oh, you got it. Okay. This is an example, just so I can show you what an event calendar and that Events Plus looks like, just because I saw the faces. And it literally is an area, this is Cvent's event calendar, where we can do things like advertise our events. Someone can register straight from that calendar. And we even have a video channel linked here, so someone can go back and see videos from Cvent Connect, for example, and see all the videos that we want to display.
So just to give you a little tiny bit of context quickly, we might use some of this on the new smithers.com site. Don't know how much of it yet, but there may not be a need to build an event calendar if Cvent can do it for us and just embed it on the smithers.com page, because then all of the data and events that you're working on will just naturally update dynamically. Sorry, go on, keep.
No, it's good. Good addition. And it's just a yes and no question as well to get something into the event calendar.
Yes.
So it's really easy to pop across. Back to that navigation. Continuing down, insights will come back to. This is where we have what I like to consider dashboards. They're not really dashboards, but that's the closest thing I can liken them to. We'll come back to this area when we come to reports. Contacts is your Cvent address book. Anyone who's been invited to register for or attended one of your events will have a profile in the address book. You might go there to find out, I want to know which events Keegan has attended, if Keegan has a food allergy, as opposed to going into an event that Keegan registered for to find that information. Library, again, a lot of you guys won't go into library. This is where we have our administrative libraries, like our event templates. Maybe we have our speaker library. We'll talk about speaker resources when we talk about the Speaker Resource Center, but we're also going to cover speakers today. So we have a speaker library, for example, where we have all of our different speakers. So you'll find different libraries there. Admin is where our admins will work, setting up things like your users, account information. You can find details there, like how many registrations have we used this quarter. I'll put a name, Nikki locked out from her account, for example, is the type of data you'll find there. We have the Cvent community further down, and Brittany, I'm using your account, so don't be surprised here, but if I come down a little bit more, I have your user profile. And a user profile is your individual specific preferences and a few things I would recommend changing. So I'm in that profile. I'm going to say profile again. So my profile. And notice I'm not clicking, I'm just hovering, right, on those bars. So in the profile, a few things that are really important for us to change, maybe not for you guys in the US, this first one, but for all of us in the room, the locale controls the date and time format that people will see either in the back end or the front end. This is your locale. So for example, if I want to see my dates in day, month, year format, I need to change this to English. I think it'll say GP for Great Britain, for example. Time, I want my time to automatically be in the 24-hour clock when I create an event. I need to change this here so that everything that I do reflects my date and time preference. You'll have another version of this when you create your event, and that is relative to how your delegates see that date and time format, but we'll touch on it when we come to it. Another thing that's really important for you to edit is your preferences. I won't pause here, but this is just your individual preferences, like what time zone do I want to see by default? Really important to change right away, because if I'm scheduling emails or I'm scheduling something 6 months from now and I've forgotten that I haven't put myself in the right locale, I could be 6 hours off from what I'm scheduling potentially. Final, we have this test profile here. It is going to be blank. It is for you to complete. And it is important because every time you test your registration process, this will pre-fill this data so that you don't have to answer all of your registration questions each time. Saves you a lot of time when you're randomly adding things and need to quickly test exactly what you've just added and not all of the things that you've added to the registration process before. This is one of those things that you won't find helpful until it actually is helpful. And then the last tab that we have is the My Imports tab. Nothing to do here currently, but we are going to come back when we talk about doing imports, because this summarizes the imports that we do. And it will actually tell us if we've skipped any records and the reason why we've done that. So we'll come back to that when we actually.
What might we import, Keegan?
Oh, you can import your agenda.
Right.
You can import registrations. You can import
From an Office template, Excel, Word.
Excel spreadsheet or a note file or a CSV file. And all of the imports that we do will give you a default file if you wanted to look at what you could import, all of the column headers that you can re-import. But each import will have a required field or fields. For example, if I was importing contacts, I only need an email address versus if I'm importing registrations, I need the email address, the person's name, and the confirmation number. So different imports have different required fields, but we'll talk about that.
So if I'm working in production and I've got a list, I've got an agenda built in Word,
Yeah.
I can import it to Cvent and it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Straight away.
Okay.
Okay, So that's a quick overall of your profile. Let's come back still in navigation. Let's come back to the Cvent community. That's going to open in a new tab. So you might need to turn your pop-up blocker off, or it might say, do you accept pop-ups from Cvent? So you're here in Cvent, navigation on the left, and then we're just clicking Cvent community. It's going to open up in a new tab. And the first thing you need to do is agree to those terms. Brittany, are you okay for me to agree to the terms of the community? I just need your permission. I won't randomly call you out again. I promise. Okay.
No worries.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Now, in the Cvent community, this is an area where we have departments putting information here just for you as Cvent users to help you do whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. There's a lot in the community. I'm going to show you 4 areas, but outside of what I show you, there's so many resources in here that continuously get added, continuously get changed. You can subscribe to things, you can have updates, there are forums, there's even advanced programs, the wrong type of word, but there are different programs that you can enroll in as an individual to do things like training and get notifications and awards at Cvent Connect, etc. if you wanted to. But here's what I think is important. First is going to be Cvent beginners. Everyone, with 2 exceptions, I'm qualifying as a beginner today. In Cvent, if you were to go into the communities tab across the top, we have Cvent beginners. And what Cvent beginners does, it's a forum where you can select things that are of interest to new Cvent users. Those questions that new users ask, you'll likely find the answers here or a forum that can help you. One of my new favorite things that we have as well is beginner specific events. They're all free. My favorite are these office hours. So the customer success team in Europe puts on these office hours where, for example, this one is registration features. So the first 10 minutes, they might give you like a little overview of advanced registration features that you might not know of, you might not heard of, or you might be using. And then just allow you the rest of that time to ask literally any question around that topic that you have, right? They even go into your event if you wanted them to check. I normally don't recommend people going into those events unless it's like your event company's one where you don't care about other people because it's a public office hour. But even if you wanted them to do that, it's possible. That's the first one. The second one is going to be Cvent support. So I'm going to click Cvent here again. And I'm going to go ahead and use this search bar. Let's say after today, I have forgotten how to create an agenda in my event. I'm going to search create an agenda, hit the return key. And then the system is going to provide for me different support articles based on what I have searched. The one thing that I do want you guys to do if you are doing traditional searches in Cvent, as you've started, is to filter down by product first, because we have, if you look at the products here on the left, we have quite a few different products in Cvent, and some of the naming conventions overlap. So as you start, I would always recommend filtering to event management first, because that's what you guys are currently using, and then looking through those articles, just to make sure you don't see something like from the hospitality side with the same name. You follow those instructions and then you're in trouble. I'm going to click into that article saying creating sessions. And the benefit to your question earlier here with these articles is each article will explain the feature that you have searched. It is then going to create a step-by-step guide for you, literally with images, to teach you or show you exactly how you should be building whatever that thing is in Cvent. And then if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, maybe you've not found the answer originally, it's probably in this related article. That's a traditional search. It's a bit going out of style, but I think it's really important that we know how to do it. The third thing I want to show you is how to do a faster search. Should I show you, Valerie? Okay. So still in the community, you'll notice that we have this lady, her name is Valerie. We love Valerie, but Valerie's died. We've killed Valerie. She's just barely alive right now, right? So Valerie is one way that you can ask for help. She's our AI tool in the community. We've now taken her from the community and we put her straight into the product, and we've taken away her identity. So she's no longer Valerie. But if I went into Cvent itself, so I'm out of the community, I'm back into Cvent. You're going to notice this little AI logo. This is your Cvent event assistant, right? This is what's replacing Valerie. I think in a few weeks, you won't see Valerie anymore, and this will be your only support where Valerie was. And this is just your AI, so you can ask it any questions. How do I create a session? It will then read those Cvent resources, and then it's going to list exactly what you need to do in the product, and then link to the support guides if you wanted to then read the more formal resource article as well. Give her a second to reply. There we go. So it gives me the exact steps without all of the fluff, just exactly what I need to know. And I can see those linked support articles here. So I can see creating sessions is one article, using session overview. If I click it, I now have the formal support article if I needed to review it. So that's how you access help in Cvent. If I go back in here and click the three dots, I call it the more button, you'll notice within here you have a chat history, but you also have support. So if you wanted to contact support straight from within Cvent, you wanted to talk with an actual person, you can also do that straight from that chat box. Okay. The final thing I want you to take in, I'm going back into the community now.
Sorry, just very quickly, how often are the actual people online on that chat?
Event management is 24/7. So we have support for event management 24/7 every day. Other individual products have specific days. And I think on arrival is the only one in event management that may have specific times outside of virtual involved. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to show you in the community is how to find additional trainings. So I've come back into the community. Top right-hand corner, we have a training tab. In that training tab, you'll find access to all of our training programs. So if you just went into browsing our catalog, it takes you into our learning center where you have access to all of our trainings, our e-learnings, our webinars. You can even get Cvent certified from here for free. Give it a second to load. But once this loads, agree.
Wait, which button did you press?
I clicked catalog, I think it says. Scroll down a little bit more. There you go, browser courses. Okay, so once you get in here, you can search via event management, or you can go straight into the product. Maybe you just want to learn about Attendee Hub. And then you have all of those Attendee Hub specific trainings. So this is if you wanted to take an actual training. Again, click here, click there, guidance, some of our videos. If you learn by going a different route, we also have learning centers that aren't self-guided. So if I go back into Cvent, this time I'm going to go to the education tab in the community. And in the education tab, we have learning centers. So this is slightly different. How we've structured a learning center is you can learn based on the type of event or the actual feature. So maybe I want to learn about those educational conferences. If I scroll down, I can actually look at the different event types. Do we have education as one? Oh, we don't. Okay. Oh yeah, training workshop. So I can go ahead and click into it. And now it's going to give me recommended trainings specifically for the type of event that I'm creating. So lots of different ways to get into the content that you want, and you should think about which one you want to use before you use it, right? No point in doing e-learning that takes an hour and a half when there's a learning center that gives you the answer in 5 minutes. So you're looking. Questions about the Cvent community at all? What's in here? Okay, cool. Let's leave the community. Again, it is going to be your most important. Yeah, go ahead.
You said before these videos and contents in the community are free, right? Is it because you have content which is behind the paywall? What is it? Or just
Yeah, I'm just saying it's free, but yeah, we don't have any
Everything
content.
is free. So regardless of what we search for, it's always free.
It's always free. The only thing that's chargeable is our in-person training events. Anything else that you get online is always completely free. Of course, even the certification program we used to charge for, and now it's been free for the last 2 years. So yeah, all good. Okay, let's close out of the Cvent community here. And I'm gonna click the C in the Cvent logo to go back to the overview page, and we can see everything as it was. So I'm now back into Cvent itself. Online, everything's okay. Just a little thumbs up. I just want to make sure y'all are good. All right, perfect. So I'm back into Cvent. Remember, navigation is here on the left-hand side. In the center, this is where I can see all of my events. To open an event, I'm just clicking the blue icon to open an event. Under the dropdown, I can see archived events. And to the right-hand side, to your question, I'm gonna try and call people's names. To your question, Arthur, about your events, you can actually create your own view. So if I click create view here, I'll call it. I can come in and I can say, you can set up like, you wanna see the title, the name, maybe the start date and time. I want it ordered by start date. A shortcut I'll show you in a minute. Instead of going into the event and having to go to reports, I can just go to reports straight from the title of the event. So that's what you're showing up here. But most importantly, if we scroll all the way down, this is the important bit. You can add a filter. So maybe I only want to see events where I've listed myself as the planner. I can say planner name equals, I'll say Cvent because I'll put Cvent as the first one so you can see one popping through. And save. And now when I look at my view, I can see when I create my first event, you'll see the event pop in, but then I'll be able to see just those events that I specifically want to look at. You can have this view shared or private so that only you can see that as well. Let's go back to our current event view. In that current event view, if I wanted to open up an event, I would simply click the title of the event. And that takes me straight into the event itself, where there's a whole bunch of event details. But I want to pause here first and see if anyone has any questions at all about anything that we just went through. No? Okay.
Hey, Keegan.
Hey, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I just have a quick question. So, because we all work on different regional events, if Arthur went in and created an event, and then I also went in and created an event, would I automatically see both of our events in that listing before creating my view, or do you have to add people in order to see like Suspect Europe versus Suspect US?
Great question. So currently you don't have user groups, so you would see everything.
Okay.
But we have a feature called user groups. And what a user group is, so quick elevator pitch. You have user roles and you have user groups, right? So a user role is individually, as an individual, I can create an event, I can open registration, I can close registration. What a user group is a group of users, the individual users, let's say American user group, European user group. And we can then put logic in the backend to say, if I add you as an admin to that American user group, you can only see the events that other people in that group have created or are working on, and vice versa. So there are ways to limit that, and they're called user groups in Cvent.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Okay. I'm going to skip the first activity just in the interest of time. That was seeing you go through the Cvent community. I might bring back one or two of those things a bit later. But for now, why don't we go through to my next objective, which was creating the event, the next activity. So in this module, I want to cover how to create an event in Cvent. We'll go through event level navigation. We'll look at the preview of our templated event, and then you'll have that activity that sees you creating your own event. I do want to call out, Chris said it a bit earlier, but we are working with templates today in this training, and it's a really important distinction to make in Cvent. In Cvent, you can start in a few different ways. We prefer templates because generally it means the logic has been set up for you, your branding has been set up for you, some guidelines have been put in place, or guardrails has been put in place, so that when you do create your event, right? We use what we call data tags. It's going to make more sense to you later today. But what that does is when you create your event from that shell, that wizard, most of the work should already be done for you. And you should just go in and make those tweaks and changes. For example, I train a pharmaceutical client every year for the last 6 years of my Cvent career, one of our larger clients. They have about 60 templates. Not suggesting you guys make 60 templates, but they have 60 templates. It takes one of their event managers about 20 minutes from clicking create event to launching an event, because their templates are so specified and they're so well done that all they do is fill out the event creation wizard. Their event is done. They just check their emails, double check any content that they want to change, and they're good to go. So I guess the point that I'm making here is that your admin team is doing a really good job in making these templates. I want to recommend that you use them as templates each time, as opposed to starting from scratch and necessarily copying. Not about best practices, but I just wanted to make level set the ground there. All right, so let's go back into Cvent. To create an event, I'm going to up the option on the top right-hand corner that just says create event. Once I do so, I'm brought into the event creation wizard and I have 4 options. I mentioned it just now. The option we're going to use is a template because most of the things are already built for us. We need to just add those additional pieces. So if you're looking for where I am, back on the Cvent homepage, top right-hand corner, create
I think
event.
I have it. I have it.
No, so operations production, you guys won't be able to create events.
Oh, okay.
Just follow along.
Does this apply as well on the left-hand side? We can, for example, see the contacts are certain
Yes,
categories we can't see
Yeah.
for certain users.
that's right.
So I'm going to go ahead and click create event again. Copying an event is similar to using a template in that it takes an event that has already been created and you use it now for this event, copies all of the information across. The difference between a template and copying an event is, one, the template's already set, but when you copy an event, you can fundamentally change a few of the key pieces before the event is created, right? A template, we have 12 things built in. You can't remove anything before you create that event. If you copy an event, you can say, actually, I don't want the agenda that I used last year, so I can copy it without that agenda. Why that distinction is important? Because in Cvent, when you copy over an event or use a template, you're pulling every single piece of content, every aesthetic thing, every rule, everything except for the delegates who are added to the event. So, for example, if you use an event that's not a template and an email is scheduled incorrectly, or there's a incorrect logic in the registration types, you are also copying that incorrect logic into your new event, which is why we always recommend starting with a template. The only exception I would give to that is if this is like an annual conference that you are putting on, maybe it's a group of events that you specifically do monthly or weekly or something, and you know your event is correct because you've been working in it, then I would say copy your event so you don't have to start from the ground. Okay, start fresh, that third option, that's where we're starting completely from fresh, not taking anything in. We're literally adding every feature and setting it up granularly. And set up later is if we don't need an event website or registration process at all. Maybe we just want to use the planning features like budget or something else that a delegate does not have access to. It doesn't give us a registration site or a form. So I'm going to use the option that says use template. We'll then see the template itself to choose from. So I'm going to select my template here. And now I can see everything as it was built in the template. On the right-hand side, I can see the features that are included. And in the wizard, I'm just now going to update for the event I'm going to be having. So I'm going to call this Keegan's training event. The event category does not change anything, but it's for informational purposes and reporting purposes. When we go to the insights, it'll make a bit more sense why this is important, but always make sure you're choosing the correct category of event here. I can choose the base language. And then here's that locale again. This time it's for the event. 4 options in English. UK and Australia give you day, month, year format. UK is the 24-hour clock. Australia is a 12-hour clock. And then Canada and USA is month, day, year format, and the USA gives you a 12-hour clock. So I'm going to choose the United Kingdom. I'm going to update the planner information just to see the training so you can see it coming through in that view that I created. And then this is your planner email address. This is a static field. You cannot edit the planner email address. This is the email address that will, when you send emails to a delegate, it was the email address that will say, this is who the email came from. If someone replies to an email that you have sent them from Cvent, the reply will go to this planner email address.
We need to change
If you
that.
need, if you need additional planner email addresses, you need to give those to your account team, your admin team. They'll add it as what we call an account email address. So they have a process. Once they approve it, it will then appear in this dropdown. It'll also have it appearing for your individual emails because you can have one email that went from Keegan and another one that went from the next team inbox as well in the same event. I'm going to say this is a in-person event. Hybrid and virtual change, nothing in the setup except that it gives you the option to add virtual links into your event. And if you're doing things like streaming live on the Attendee Hub, it allows you to stream. You can change the event type as well after the fact. I'm going to say this is happening in, let's see if it finds better. Cleve Road, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have a party at the office. Lovely. Continuing down, I have the dates and time. Let's have this be from the 1st of July at 6 a.m. Let's have that until the says go until the 3rd of July. And let's do this one in the afternoon. Let's do. I'll update my time zone. So I'm going to choose Greenwich, London. Really big for us in the UK. Do not choose GMT. It is the only time zone that we have that does not update with daylight savings time. So if you're scheduling anything, it tends to give people a problem in March. So that's when we get the chaotic calls at the care line, like, what is going on? It's this every single time. So don't use GMT. Greenwich, London gives you the same as GMT, except it changes with daylight savings time.
It's the time zone of the event, not our time zone.
Yeah, it should be the time zone of the event, 100%. And then for your email notifications, best practice is to always leave it as change send settings to manual. Unless you specifically know, for example, you're working this event all the time, it's your event, you're copying over, you know the schedule should stay. Reason being, in Cvent, even if you've not activated your event, if you've scheduled an email, it will still go, even if your event is not live, to people that you have in your event. So just remember, you don't like to schedule because if you forget something, the email will go and it's gone. There's nothing. Okay, I'm going to click create event. That's going to create the shell of the event for us. I'm going to quickly preview. We'll talk about how to change the things that we just added, and then we'll give you some time to create your own event. So like I said, we're using the template. So all of the aesthetics and branding is already set up. We have a website, a registration process in here already done. Give it a second. Any questions about anything so far? Okay, so now I have my event created. Within our event level navigation is always on the left-hand side. So we have our full Cvent navigation outside on the left, and then our event level navigation here. On the overview page, you're going to find a bit of information about the event. These cards will change based on the features we've activated. And on the side here on the right, the feature status area is how we activate those component pods, right? When I'm ready for registration to open, this is just a drop down once I finished out my registration process that I can say open registration. Right across the top, I'm going to hit the preview eye. The preview eye is a great way to view the look and feel of your event, but it's not great for testing. We'll talk about testing later. But just wanted to show you what we have already built. So again, this is a template. I talked about data tags earlier, that thing that helps you build your event really quickly. I put in the title of my event in that wizard. Notice it's changed on the website. It will also change in my emails anywhere I have the event title data tag. So there's some general information about the event here. And you'll have some time to go through this website when you go through our third activity, I believe, will be on the actual website. But as you can see, there's quite a lot already built in. If I go back up, there's an FAQ page with FAQs for you to add. The agenda page, for example, is going to change based on the sessions, the agenda that we add into Cvent, so we don't need to come back to the website to change our agenda once we put it in. Even things like our sponsor information is already here. Really easy to change these pieces if we need to. And we even have a photo gallery at the back built into the template. There's also a default registration process, but I'll take you through that when we get to the registration area. I kind of want to stop here in terms of preview. Back into Cvent. Event level navigation, like I said, is on the left-hand side. I am going to go back into the overview page. Okay, I think I might need to change this user that I'm using because, and I'll talk you through why after. Go back into my event here. Okay, so back in my event, on the navigation panel here, I'm in the details tab. In the details tab, I'm going to hop into event information. This is where we can change any of the information that we put into that event creation wizard, right? The title of the event, the dates of the event. Some of you might not see details. I just realized I didn't, so I had to switch back. If you don't, it's okay. But just calling out, this is where you would see those changes or make those changes. One thing that I want to call out is in Cvent, 99% of the things that you add, you can change before, during, and after the event is complete, even after the event's been archived. I will specifically call out those things that cannot be changed. So everything else, just assume you can change it whenever you feel like. Okay, outside of that, we have event features still in that details tab, and this is where we'll see the features that we want to use. So this is where we can learn more about the different features if you wanted some more details about them. And right across the top, you're going to notice in product these question marks. Now, I am campaigning for them to look like graduation caps because that's what we originally had. But if you clicked on these question marks, they're literally, I think it's between 30 seconds and 2.5-minute videos that tell you exactly what you can do on this page and or what those features do. So if you're ever in an area and you think, I can remember what this is, or you think to myself, what can I do here? And see that little question mark, go ahead and click on it. It's a little video. One of my colleagues, Tim, who is no longer with Cvent.
After you launch registration.
Oh, we changed his voice. Never mind.
It's not 10.
It's not Tim at all. Okay, great. So I want to pause here and give you a first activity. But before I do, any questions about anything so far? All right. So what I would like you guys to do then is log into Cvent. If you've not already done so, I want you to create your own event, right? Label it your training event, so your name your training event. Once you hop in, I want you to review the options that you see in event information. Point there is I just want you to become familiar with the settings that are there, more so than you doing anything. Review the features that you have available, and then just preview your event. So if I quickly remind you how to do those things, back into Cvent once again. That first one was to create an event. So I clicked, well, when you log into Cvent, you're on the homepage, but I just clicked Cvent to go back to the homepage. You'll then click Create Event on the top right. Once you're here, you're going to choose Use Template. You'll choose that template. And then you're going to update the name of the template. Maybe also update that locale for those of us in the room. Those of you guys online, leave it as the USA. And then go ahead and create your event. Feel free to update the dates if you would like. Once you've created that event, the shell is going to be created. So I want you to hop into your events shell. navigation panel here on the left. Just hop into the details tab if you have it. And I want you to go through event information. I just want you to take note of the different things that you have popping up in this area. Okay, let's go ahead and do that activity. Let's take about 5 to 10 to do it. For those of us who don't have the create button, can you just give me a raise of hands? I just want to our cap.
I just I have one question. If you don't have the button to create the event, you don't see the details either. Would you have this button under overview? It says detail event information. So you don't see this if you're not set up to create an event.
You don't see event detail. Yeah, that's so
Because it's actually
potential.
quite useful to see, but we
Yeah.
don't really need to create the event button.
I think they need to change how they use this because I can't see it either,
You can see.
which means that other marketers won't be able to see it.
Oh, should I just make a change real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll change it so that you guys can do it. But specifically to your question, potentially, and the reason I say potentially is we can also adjust individual pieces as well. So likely, but you could have also changed it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do then is, I'm just gonna make a change really quickly. Apologies, you can't see the activity. And actually, oh, you're not in that.
No, Chris is, but
Oh, yes.
Event information.
yeah.
What should I do? Should I make everyone an admin temporarily? Yeah. I don't know which user will show it.
I think at the moment, in Chris's team, I can see that.
Which one would that be?
No, he's still wants it.
Administrators, but I think everyone needs to see the details. It's interesting, we can't see the details, but.
Going to be creating.
Who's going to be in charge? The marketers.
Officially flying with strawberry bombs.
I took all.
Wait for Treasure, it's nothing like that.
Well, they are actually.
They're quite good.
Yeah, so in whole thing, yeah, there's the information. Which is the best one? I was using that.
We can then figure out that later.
Okay. Enough to each day.
Well, I'm just trying to remember.
If you don't chance to do. Yeah.
Then you like that.
You should.
It was a couple of years ago as well. Yeah, a little bit, like this is the screen is.
Do what you need to do.
I think gender is now. They asked for the second just on the way that the agenda is then is you create sessions. And then it basically builds your agenda.
Well, I'm not changing the one here. It's just
So you got a second presentation and stuff in the back. I think that they just build it on that.
Well, we only have one objective, so we're here. So we're here right now. So.
That's what keeping it getting at. Or if maybe you've got the agenda in an Excel format.
I could probably get the content.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe I saved it.
Passwords are the worst. You're gonna have to do that.
Yeah.
I don't recommend.
It's in, it's Google passwords.
Okay, perfect.
It's everyone.
No.
Oh, no.
But just the people who are, but everyone's in here, right? Like, all of these people are here. I know the names, not, I don't know why.
We can also use it with automatic. So if you have an issue with adding a session or whatever, you can just use that and then you'll get it.
Marketers can do it, can they?
Yeah, it's free. And all
Yeah, it's on.
sessions
Are you able to? Feeding
I
on it?
don't
Yeah.
know about that. So.
It should be there, right?
Yeah. Change all of them and we'll change them back. You can't. That's nice. Want a mouse? Or are you all right with a touchpad?
He's already in.
Use an admin already.
We think about that. Docking station, there's a cable coming out
Yeah,
there.
that was not working. This wasn't, this one's so much not right. Try.
There's a cable.
Okay, we'll leave it.
That'll charge.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
You need, I'm all right.
I'm okay for now. So do you want to do it now? I'll do it later.
Do it. Put mine in now and then somebody else can borrow it.
I didn't, yeah, didn't.
I didn't,
mind.
yeah.
Obviously, you want to fill it. Wait, cookies, wait, cookies in the filling.
Maybe it's
Okay.
It's plastic free.
Just do that. You know what?
need to do it, then for the.
It's a criminal.
I feel like I'm on a production.
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
You know the email address it had,
Yes.
where there's all the responses go back to?
The planner email address.
Yeah, is that like marketing emails, ops email, like everything?
The plan is for it to be like the events EU, for example, for us, and then the US one and the Asia one.
Does that mean that no matter what event it is, if somebody has a question, it's going to go back to Events EU,
To the specific.
not to this, not to the ops person?
Unless we decide to make it the ops person.
Yes.
There are specific ways of looking. I said they were, I'll check. I think everyone except for. Okay, everyone, if you refresh your Cvent, you should have the option to create an event and see event information. If you don't, let me know.
Great event, yeah.
You know,
Big button.
instead of left, I'm like left side.
Everyone cold or warm? Cold.
You have to sit outside sometimes.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. I know you guys have been working. Thank you very much. But for those who have not been able to, I feel like I mumbled this. Maybe you guys answered. I'm not realizing I did, and you guys said yes. Can you guys see the option now to create event?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Let's do this activity for about 3 more minutes, guys, and then we'll move on, okay?
The venue option.
Mhm.
Does it pull it from Cvent venue search? I know you guys see venue searches, so
No, though, we have a few, when you put the,
when you're setting up the event and you can type in the
I
hotel.
think that's from Google Maps.
Oh, okay. So it should have most of it.
It should have most of the venues, but we do have another area where it pulls from the Cvent network if you,
Oh.
if you chose the venue feature, venues, but that's Google Maps.
Okay.
Yeah. But Apple Maps.
If I pick a venue located in Spain,
Will the time zone automatically adjust? No, okay.
Hey, Keegan.
Hey, Brittany.
Hi, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
So for when you're creating the event, like for US events, I saw that the state is like grayed out, so you can't actually pick the state, but you can put the zip code in there. Is
Yeah.
that always going to be, is it just based on the city and the zip code, or can we pick the state at some point?
Yeah, so it pulls the zip code because then it automates the state, but
Okay.
you can, and the reason it does that is because we have data tags that will then pull the state automatically. But
Okay.
if you wanted to just use the state, we can add that as an actual contact field for the person. So there's different areas you can put that if you actually wanted to state it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, little one. Very cute.
Sorry. Yeah, we have a visitor. I apologize.
Don't be sorry. He made me smile for the first gen. There's a smile. Very cute.
Sorry, going back to the email and notification saying.
Okay.
Setting this.
Oh, leave that as manual. The other option is.
So that is both is manual.
Yeah. And that's just because when you say adjust, so what that basically means is I schedule an email in the original event to go on a week before the event starts. It will just adjust it to be a week before this event starts. But it will still automatically send it without checking with you if you left it at adjust.
The emails that are in there will all be set. So say we had Cvent last year, they were all 2025 emails, 2026 emails, they'll all have to go in and be adjusted.
No, so it depends on how you want to do it. So that setting is literally just if it was a scheduled email. But we also have automatic emails and manual emails in Cvent. So the automatic one is probably what most people use. So when you register as a delegate, it automatically sends you that confirmation. That's not what that is. Yeah, exactly.
That's probably the better question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes. It's all in the portal. Chances in your check.
I didn't know the was the final time.
Get off, so I like it, mate.
I know, but it was like zero build up.
I was in a bar with no half and half man. People just left it. It was like so good. It's so good.
Actually, they lose by a lot.
So that was
I did know that. Now you said that, I thought. They tied the game.
they drew the game and then they were taking time. Yeah,
But then there was no, then they had to pay the penalties.
yeah, it was like
Okay.
It's phenomenal. All those eyes like try and make it.
Okay. Can I just check, have we all been able to create our event? Lovely. Let's continue through because I know the one thing that I like to do is have lunch at lunchtime. So I'm gonna try very hard to do this next section in the next 12 minutes, but we might have to push the activity or maybe do it during the break. I just want to make sure we're clear on the content as opposed to just doing the activity before the activity. I won't call that on before we start. All right, so our next module is going to be event details. So I want to focus on 3 event details today. We're going to talk about registration types. We're going to look at your agenda, and we're also going to look at speakers. But I do want to call out that there are additional event detail features that you could use in Cvent. As part of the exercise, I'm going to ask you to just kind of look through the event details area, just so you're familiar with the features that are there. So the first one I want to cover is going to be registration types. Now, in Cvent, a registration type is the fundamental building blocks of your event. They basically tell us who someone is and what they can do in the event, right? General attendee, speaker, member of the press. They're the fundamental building blocks because This is the logic that you set up to say only these activities can be visible to this type of person, or this type of person pays £500 for this item, whereas this other type of person gets it for free, right? Keegan can bring a guest, but Emma cannot bring a guest. It's based on the registration type. So every logic or most of the logic that you're going to build in Cvent, it's important that you get your things right first, because that is what we build the logic on top of. So really simple to create. Back into Cvent. I need to make sure it's too long back in here. So I'm going to use, oh, look at our lovely events, much bigger event area. So I'm going to use our recent items drop down to go into that training event that I've been working in. And once I'm here, the first place I'm going to go into is details. And then in details, we have registration types. Now, this is a template, right? So you're going to find that you have things already here. One best practice tip for me is not to remove things that have been built in a template unless you are sure that you are not going to use that thing in your actual event. Because once you remove it from the template, if you need to then re-add it, it is not re-added with the same logic as initially built in the template. And that'll be more obvious in some places than in other places. But for example, if I went to my event features, right? If I were to remove, let's say, the website, right? I remove the website as a feature and then add it up, and I've done it incorrect. You saw that preview that had all those different pages, like the queue page, hotel page, etc. When I re-add it, none of that comes back. I just have a completely blank page, right? So the same is going to be true on the website. If you remove something, it is themed. You try to add it back, it's not going to come back in the same way. But I'm just going to call that out before.
Can I copy it? So if that by accident it happens, I delete the website. Could I not just go to another event or the template list, copy the website features, and then just copy it into this so it gets in?
Perfect world. But no, unfortunately, in Cvent, once you create that event once, it then removes itself from the theming, well, not the theming, but it removes itself from the template itself, so it becomes a completely separate, but you can't take it from anywhere else. Currently, it is an enhancement that we have in the pipeline. I think we've been able to do it for emails now, but not for like websites or the full event. Okay, so let's go ahead and build these details. So back to registration types. So to add a new registration type, I'm going to click edit on the top right. Once I click edit, I have my different registration types. For example, I have attendees with a membership pass. I have attendees who are viewing on demand and attendees who have no workshop, right? If, for example, those on-demand attendees, I had a cap of 50, I would add that capacity in. Any registration type you leave blank is an unlimited capacity. You have your registration type capacity, and then you have your event capacity, and you also have your session capacity. So 3 different capacities that you can manage. I can say 50,000 people, 50,000, 5,000 people for this entire event, but I can only have 300 speakers present. That 300th speaker registers, no other speaker can register, but it doesn't affect the rest of my registration process. It's what we're setting up here. If I wanted to add an additional registration type, we're going to always add from contact types, because this will show us any other registration types that were there. For example, if I did not have sponsor, I would say add from contact types. I would be able to choose sponsor, add them into my event. We will then build the logic for each of these types in the component area where we need that logic. Questions about registration types so far? We're just putting the logic in now, and then when we get to this afternoon, we'll actually start to put things in different areas.
For the most part, correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be a marketing exercise.
Yes.
Building websites and registration. So the majority of the people in the room and online won't be doing on this stage. It'll be there done for you, but it's good to get that kind of orientation around what is and isn't possible, just in case there are things missing from the templates.
Currently, I don't have the sponsor option that you have there, But that will be in the option, will it?
Yeah, it should be there. It might be that it's already in your, is it already in your list maybe? And then, because if you try to add it in, it's already there, it won't add for you. And it's, okay,
Okay.
perfect.
So who's in charge of adding the types of tags?
I would say your admins are.
They're built into this template at the moment. I think what's happened is the implementation team that we've been working with have kind of, for want of a better description, dumped these. Let me rephrase that.
Bust quickly, isn't it?
Let me rephrase.
Good lunch here.
That's it.
They've added them for us very kindly, so that we can I think what we need to do is refine them down
We
a
will.
little bit by event template. And we will do that, yeah, but admins will add new ones, I think you're right. Yeah, the admin team, yeah, okay.
Because we get a lot of people adding the same ones and it causes an issue, so I would always keep the admins. Okay, did we answer that question that you asked? Okay, cool. So those are our registration types. The next feature I want to cover is going to be, or talk about, is how to assign registration types. So we have 5 ways of assigning a registration type. I've created a speaker registration type. How do I identify Keegan as a speaker so that he sees that logic during registration? We can do that by the invitee selecting themselves. So on the registration process, they see a drop down, they say, I am a speaker, and then they get that speaker registration logic. Pre-coded or assigned via an invitation list means we've added their registration type into the event at some point, whether it be via the invitation list or just a standard import. Then when they start to register, there's nothing for them to choose. The system checks their email address, swoops back to the event and says, okay, Keegan is a speaker. It then gives Keegan that speaker registration process. Web link assignment is what we're using, or one of the ways we're using in the template currently. So I create a link, I've tied that registration type to the link. Maybe I'll call it speaker registration link. Maybe I'll add it to my speaker invitation email or send it via Outlook or however I want to send it. Point being, you click the link to start registering. The registration process gives you speaker immediately because it's the speaker link that you chose. And then that last option, a custom logic, is not super commonly used, but this is where I'm taking the answers to certain questions and it's giving you a registration type in the registration process, right? You actually start the process, you say your company equals Smithers, you get the staff registration type, right? That's how that's made. We'll look at how to add these as we get to those component parts. That's just being clear about how we add them. We add these in the registration process itself, so we'll look at that when we get there. The next feature I want to talk about is sessions. Last 2 features, and then we're gonna pause. So in Cvent, we have 2 types of sessions. We have optional sessions and we have included sessions. This is the first thing that we are coming across that we cannot change once we create it. Specifically, what type of session is this? If it's an optional session, I'm saying you as a delegate have an option or a choice during registration. You can see all those activities. You choose the one that you want to attend. I can also charge for an optional session, right? Workshop A is £100, that charge. I can also add restrictions to the sessions. I can say, you'll only see this session if you meet XYZ criteria, right? Those are your optional sessions. Included sessions, on the other hand, are automatically going to be added to every single person who registers for your event's agenda. We don't care the registration type, when they registered, or who they are. Cannot charge for an included session because it's included with their registration, right? And with an included session, you cannot get a separate head count. It's a big one because obviously it's everyone who's registered for the event, right? So unlike an optional session where 12 of my 100 registrants say they are coming to that optional session, so I can account for those 12. If it's an included session, no one is telling me yes or no. It's on everyone's agenda, so I don't actually know who's turning up to that session unless it's like a plenary where everyone has to be there kind of thing. Once you create a session as optional or included, you cannot switch them. You can change the information, date, time, what's going on, but you cannot change the type. If you do it wrong, you have to delete it. and recreate it or inactivate it if people have already started to register and create it as the right session. So let's look at how to create a session. And then I'll show you those in registration. And then I think we'll pause. Should we pause before the activity and give them lunch? Yes. Okay, cool. So to create my session, I'm actually going to do it in the agenda tab. But before we do that, I'm going to create a speaker. I don't have a slide for it because it is honestly super easy to do. I don't think you need. This is not necessarily the speaker resource center. We're going to talk about that one tomorrow, but this is a part of the process to add a speaker to the speaker resource center. I'm going to navigate to speakers, and then I have my speaker list. I'm just using the speaker list because I want to highlight this speaker on my website, maybe on the attendee hub. So we have some dummy speakers here because it's a template, but I'm going to go ahead and say create speaker across the top. Let's create Dr. Avocado. He's my favorite speaker. And the great thing about this is you can also use GIFs or GIFs, images on your site as well, like Aho is a GIF. Is the CEO of Okay. Yes, I want him displayed to my attendees. I want them to be able to see him. We haven't talked about the attendee hub. That's for tomorrow, but remember the attendee hub is a separate feature where you have that website where people can stream videos and a native mobile app. If you're using the attendee hub, this question is just saying, do you want him to be on the first page of that app and that website? I'll say yes for now.
Does that always come up as no?
Yeah, I think it's no by default. Okay. Yeah. Let's add a quick biography. He is. I'm going to skip this AI tool, but you'll notice we have it in a few other places. I'll show you in a few other places. One thing I want to call out here are documents. In Cvent, whenever you see a document, it's an attachment. That's our term for an attachment. So for example, if you wanted to attach a PDF of the menu for lunch to your confirmation email, you would have to create that PDF as a, or rather save that PDF as a document. And then it gives you a reference link that you add to your email. In addition to that, we have session documents and speaker documents that are automatically attached to the session or speaker, so you don't need to manually attach them like this. So for example, I want you to be able to download the PowerPoint presentation that the speaker has given after the event. I'm going to create a new folder so I can delete it. So I'm going to create a Cvent folder. And in that folder, I'm just going to use the upload button. And then it'll take me to my desktop where I can upload a file. It tells you the file types that you can download. Oh, it is 9 megabytes now. That used to be 5 megabytes up until 6 months ago, so that's a good change. I'm just going to put the Cvent logo here for ease. I'm going to add it into my folder. And once it's in the folder, I'm going to select that that's the document I want to use and insert it. It could be a PDF, something else if you want. And see. So I've created my speaker. It's that simple. I like to create the speakers first so that I can, when I create the session, automatically attach that speaker to the session.
Does that document link to that speaker in every event that they speak in?
It does not. It's a very good question. And it's a great question because in the actions drop down, you see I have this import option, but I also have the option, if I go towards the drop down here, to add this speaker to my library. I think this is the first speaker in your library. If I add a speaker to my speaker library, if I go to a different event now and go to the actions drop down, I now have add from library and I can pull Avocado into this event. So you do have a library that allows you to pull people in. And if I delete Avocado, let's test that thing and see if that document comes up actually. If I pull him in from the library and drop him in.
He's got a question.
Okay, Keith, I'll answer your question in 2 seconds. I just want to check this document. Oh, it came through. Okay, so adjust on what I said, the document apparently comes through. This is seemingly a new change, but if you put it in the library and pull him from the library, that document will come through. All right, so last thing on the speaker, before I answer your question, any speaker that you pull into the library, like I just did, and pull him out, if I were to make a change to his profile, and let's say he was listed on a different event, that would also change the details on the different events as well.
So for example, if I have a speaker who speaks at 2 different events, has 2 different presentations, but I only want the delegates from each event to see that specific presentation. So I can't put it on his profile, or can I do it on in the event and on the speaker present?
I was just gonna say, yeah, I would do it in the event. So what I would probably have done differently is when I create Avocado the first time, I would probably create him without the document and save him to the
But I
library.
don't know that he's going to speak at both events when I create Avocado.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. When you pull him into the new event, you can remove the document from.
And then I would only only kind
From
of
this
takes it from that event, it will be
Yeah.
removed, not from the library.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's a bit different because the text that go with his profile stay, but you can remove the document.
Okay.
But you can't change the text if it is from the library. And what people have been doing as a workaround for that is they'll either add more than one speaker with the same profile to the library. We more see this around, like I'm having an educational event and I'm also having an employee event, and Keegan is going to be a host at both, and maybe the description in the employee event is like fun and casual, but then the actual education the description is proper description. So we would create either 2 profiles in the library, or if you had a profile in the library, you just create it from scratch in the event again and don't add him to the library the second time. That makes sense.
It does make sense. I think it can make it can create quite a lot of duplicates,
Yes.
and then you don't know which one is the up-to-date one, but that's something I guess we need to make sure we put in titles and, and have like rules around it.
Agreed.
Can you also do a bulk upload of speakers? With their with their bios and all of that information
You should be
automatically fills in.
Let's see, actions, import. Let's see what you can download. So anytime you want to know what you can do with someone or a feature, if you go to try importing, so I've gone to actions, import, and whenever you do an import, you see this file here, it will show you everything that you can pull in as a column header. So for the speaker, we can import his first name, last name, email, category, biography, URL, display on website, and if he's featured. So these are the things that we can import for the speakers. Okay,
Keith had a question.
sorry, yes, Keith,
I
apologies.
think he put it in his chat, in the chat on Teams, if you can see that.
Yeah, Tim, is there, once we get all the speakers entered for a particular event, are we able to pull any kind of a report that would have like the picture, bio, when they're appearing on the agenda? Is there any kind of specific report like that?
For like event by event, or you mean like globally?
By event?
Yeah, so yes, the yes is cautious because I'm not sure that it pulls the person's profile picture in this report, but it does. There is a speaker report that we have in the event, and then also you have the option. I don't remember what this report is called, but every time you add a speaker to a session, it creates like a schedule, and you can download that schedule as well from the speaker that has like where he should be when. So there's 2 options, but I'm not sure that they pull the picture, to be honest. I can check later, but I'm not sure.
But if we wanted to pull a picture and we loaded a picture, we could do that.
When you say pull it, where like in a report?
Well, I mean, when we create the speaker, we're putting a picture of the speaker into Cvent, correct?
Yeah, you could, yeah.
So somewhere down the road, we could pull a report that would include that photo.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure that it will include the photo, but I can circle back to you. It can pull, we have reports that pull their details. I'm just not sure about the picture.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Okay, any more questions about speakers? All right, one more thing, guys, we'll do sessions and then I promise you I'll let you have lunch. So now that I've created my speaker, let's go ahead and create our agenda. So agenda drop down this time, I'm going to go into the session list. Once I'm in that session list, obviously it's a template, so we have some templated sessions. I'm gonna just go ahead and say create session on the top right. And again, plug and play. So let's say this one is going to be our Cvent training workshop. I'm very bad at thinking about the names for things. Cvent training workshop. I would recommend putting as many things like categories as you can, only because you'll notice on the agenda, it gives you the option to sort things in different ways. All right, let's have it be from the first on, let's go from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm going to say this is in conference room B. The description, I'll just say this is session. And if I show you this AI generator, this is really cool because you can literally have it regenerate things as you need. I will say the name. Target. And events. With the AI tool as well, it can ask you different questions. You can say no. You can ask it to give you more prompts. Once it gives you your first option, you can have it rewrite the tone. You can change the length. You can do quite a bit more with this. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Maybe I'll save. Now I have my sessions description. So you can use that in your emails and other parts of Cvent. But really important, this is the part that you cannot change. I can change everything else. Notice if I say it's an included session, I don't have any more options because it's included, right? I can just assign my speaker. Versus if I say it's optional. Here, if I scroll back down, I can now restrict the visibility. So remember those registration types. I can now say, yes, I want to restrict who can access this session, and I only want this session to be available to my attendees. If you're any other registration type, you won't see this during registration. You won't have access to register for it and attend during registration process. Now, that's a bit different if you're using the attendee hub or a bit more nuanced, but we'll talk about that when we get to that topic. Okay, continuing down, notice that you have the option to add a capacity for this session. You can also enable a waitlist if the session meets capacity. Yes, I want it displayed on the agenda. I won't feature it on the hub. And let's go ahead and assign Avocado to speak in this session. Oh, wait, that's not popping up. Let's save it and come back. This is where you have the option to add your session documents as well. If you wanted to, I'll add the same document of Avocado, or that I added for Avocado. And then down to the bottom, I can say whether I'm charging or not, whether it's a fee or not. If I say it's a simple fee, I just say how much the individual fee is going to cost. If I say it's an advanced fee, I set it up in my fee area, and I can actually do things like say, there's a refund policy that you get 50% refunded if you cancel by X date, right? Okay, it's that simple to create your session. I'm going to skip the advanced settings for now. I'm going to close that individual session. Coming back to where I had all of my sessions, I want to talk about editing in bulk, right? Because we come into a template, we might want to just edit or import our agenda. So if I was editing in bulk, I could simply select everyone here Top right-hand corner into actions, I'm gonna say edit. And I can then edit all of those fields at one time. One thing that I think is really cool is if you wanted to change all of the times all together, you can say move everything forward by 1 hour and 12 minutes, for example. And it literally changes all the session times in tandem. But notice the only thing that you cannot edit is the type. Remember, if you got that wrong, you need to delete and recreate the session.
And then you can re-add people.
And then you can re-add people. I have an easy way to do that. It's called bulk session updates as well. And then in the actions dropdown, notice that you can also import your sessions. So if you wanted to, just like the others, you can import your session. You just need to have the name of the session, its type, and when it starts and ends.
Is that in an Excel? So I can't import a Word document.
No, it needs to be an Excel or a text file. But if you save it as a text file, save the Word document as a text file and see if you can import it. I've never tried, but I think that might probably fit. Okay, so I'm gonna pause there on features. I'm gonna go to the overview page really quickly. Under the actions dropdown, I'm just going to say perform test. This is how we test things like the registration process. I'm going to say I'm going to test the registration process. And let's come in from a web link. Let's test the attendee registration type. I'm going to say start test. Anytime you test, your pop-up blockers have to be turned off or accepting pop-ups from Cvent or they just won't open. And then here, for example, I can see the registration process. Mine is cached a bit, so I can pop some stuff in here. I have some best practices around questions as well that we'll talk about when we look at registration. So I'm at 4 Kingdom Street.
Before you continue, it says I'm registering on behalf of this person.
Mhm.
So as you register for your boss or whatever, will that person also be notified with automated emails as well as the person who they register?
Exactly right. You got it. And you can, so in your emails, we have an email setting area. I think it's called recipient settings. And you can actually determine who gets what copies of what emails for administrators, guests, group members, etc.
And you can't put the same email address.
So I think I've never tried that. It's a good question. It's not a required field anyway, so they could bypass it. So nothing gatekeeps them, but I will check it. Check it.
You don't.
It will help you know for future as well. No, you can't register the same email key. Okay, on the next page, we have our sessions. So notice it's just going to show me those sessions that are available for that reg type. So the session I created is not limited to that or was not available to that registration type. I'll select what is. Then I have my registration summary. This is for group registration. So if I wanted to register another person, we're going to change this so that this doesn't pop up. But what we will do is, let's try, what group registration does, it is literally starts the registration process over so that you can add another member of your group, for example. Something in here, so it has something, there we go. Then I chose a different registration type this time, so you can see the logic. So now I can see the rest of those sessions popping up. I can even see the capacity on them. We can have it showing the price or not. And then when I'm finished, go to the next page and I can easily submit that registration. We can have them do things like apply discount codes if we have them. I'll say often, right? That's registration submitted. So it's that easy to build from creating to you have a full event. In the next kind of blocks, we'll actually go and edit the registration process and the actual site itself.
It's worth saying quickly that Olivia, Emma and I built that registration ourselves based on what we know. It's probably about 90% done. But the registration can be completely different event by event if we need it to. So whereas at the moment, everything is identical all the time. So not only the different types, but you could have a completely different set of personal information and questions and that are specific to that event, maybe about the venue, for example. So this particular one is just a templated version that we built.
So out of curiosity, if you, can you scroll up?
Yeah.
There where it says, congratulations, you're now registered, but this person hasn't actually paid for the event at this moment.
They have.
Because it was invoiced.
Yeah, because we don't have payment services set up yet. And when we do, we will have the invoice option and the pay by credit
But when
card.
it comes up with the invoice option, will that say your payment isn't, like, they're not actually registered until their payment is made?
So we are going to talk to people like yourself, Keith, Sam, Denise, Helen, for example, and say, look, what do we want this to say? So that people are very clear about, okay, so I've requested an invoice, but then what?
Yeah.
What happens now? Yeah.
When I hear things, I'm just going to call features out so that it's helpful. The feature that would do that is called registration approval. And what that does is someone registers, they go into pending approval. So they choose invoice, you have all their details, how they're paying, it goes into pending. You get a planner alert if you choose that has all their details, etc. And from that email, you can say approve or deny. You click approve, then they become registrant. You click deny, they don't. They're not registered. So there's a wrong one. Any other questions?
Olivia had a question, which is there.
Yeah.
It's here. Here you
Yeah, I can,
go. She's-
I just asked
That's
if, I know you can create session groups, so I'm just thinking, we call sessions like groups of presentations, and it sounds like sessions is just any kind of agenda item in Cvent. So is it all or nothing if you create a session group, so you have to register for everything under a session group? Or can you select certain sessions under a session group, if that makes sense?
That's a very good question. You can, but not with a session group. I know exactly what you mean, but a session group in Cvent is a feature that will allow you to add a bunch of optional sessions into an event, into a group. And then the delegate can then only choose one of those sessions out of the group. So that feature specifically does the opposite. It limits them to one, but session bundles does what you just described. So you create that bundle of 50 sessions. They can then select additional sessions on top of that 50 sessions as well. So that's how the bundles would work. So yeah, we do that under bundles.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So a session is basically if I'm a presentation from one speaker. So I would say that's a presentation and he sits under a session. So the session would just be, the heading, and then we would have all the presentations underneath it. So each session is a presentation in Cvent. Is that right?
I want to give you a half yes as you described it. So yes, you're not wrong. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's totally one way to look at it.
Yeah.
The reason that, so yes, but the reason I'm cautious in answering that is because, especially when we use the attendee hub, we have a feature called session program, which allows me to take one session and break it out so I can see.
But yeah. I mean, for about 90% of my conferences, I just have everybody sits in the room. They're not choosing. Everything is included. They're just in one room. They're listening to all the presentations.
Yeah.
And I just want them to display it under session heading. Then I want 4 presentations, and then I have a new session and another 4 presentations. So which tab would I use for the session heading? Just to list then the 4 presentation underneath it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're gonna have, from what you just said, 2 sessions, and in the 4th session, you have 4 four talks in that one
Yeah.
session. It's how I
Yeah.
heard it. So I
Yeah.
would do one session and then in the description, I would then do the breakdown of the four talks. Alternatively, if you specifically wanted someone to say, I'm going to talk, to, I'm going to talk to, then I would do each one of those, like of the four, then I would do each of those as an individual session. But if you're saying that no one's leaving the room, everyone's just sitting down,
Yeah.
they're not going in and out, so I'm assuming you don't need to like see 15 people stay for talk one versus 20 for talk two, then I would probably that you lead sessions in a case like that. Because people aren't going back. The purpose of sessions you can set up a session for whatever reason you want to. But in Cvent, our thought process is the purpose of a session is because you either want to track participation individually around certain things, or you want to gatekeep around the speaker, or maybe it's targeted around like CED credits, or you specifically want to see Keegan went to talk one versus Jane and Sam who went to talk two. So if you don't need any of that data and you just need to know, did they show up on the day, yes or no? And you don't need sessions for your event at all, unless there's some type of data that you need, like in the reporting, and you want to be able to.
Yeah.
But from a Cvent perspective, what you described to me, we would see voting sessions.
So what would I then pull? How would I then list it on the agenda tab? Because it only says sessions.
I would, because you don't need the sessions for registration, I would have just on the event website. I know website isn't part of what we're doing right now, but on the event website, we have a widget called the Agenda at a Glance widget, where you can create an agenda yourself directly on the website as opposed to creating sessions. So that's what I would have recommended that you did.
Okay.
I would literally tell you, go in here. Again, I'm preempting, but build menu.
Yeah.
And then we have here this agenda at a glance, or you can use a text widget and like make it look nice. But this one at least looks like a timed agenda. And then you could do things like say, I want the time on the left, the title on the right, and then you can even add a third line that has like who's speaking or something.
Okay. But I can't link the speaker profile then on the glance. Not to that, so they can't,
Profiles.
so that's just at the glance, they just have the name, but they can't click on the profile of the speaker.
Not with the at a glance, but if you use the sessions feature,
Then,
then you
then,
can, yeah,
okay.
because then you'd use the sessions widget for that one, and then it'll speaker, sorry, not sessions, the speakers widget like this one.
Yeah,
And then you can do things like say, show more details, so that it's actually a pop-up button that they can see the speaker details. Okay, any other questions, guys? Okay, in that case.
Shall we try and claw a little bit of time back and break until 2:15? I think the next session is more specific to marketing and the digital team. It's probably going to be focused in on websites and registration. Is that correct?
Yes.
Gonna grab some lunch for those of you who said you wanted some food, so I'll go and grab that now. I don't think everybody did, but then there'll be some sandwiches and other bits. I'll go and grab it.
Good.
So if we can start back at 2:15 or 9:15 for the online team.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys soon. If you guys think of any questions online, pop them in the chat and we'll answer them when we get questions.